This one is 20 minutes.
This is Ellie. This is Oscar. Ellie is a vampire. Oscar, for now, we'll just call him a normal boy with a really, really bad bully problem. The story begins when Ellie moves into his apartment complex and they start to become friends, which is a rare, important thing for her.
Hello.
Ellie can't live a normal life because
Walid, how you
she
doing?
isn't a normal girl. So finding someone like Oscar matters a lot. At least now she has him.
And Holy Crusader,
At
hello.
least Oscar seems to understand. This is the basic setup for the movie Let the Right One In, which is probably one of my favorite films ever. There is a lot to this story. A lot of novel approaches to questions about morality and humanity. But Ellie, our remorseful little vampire, she's nothing new, really. Just one in a long line of vampires who regret being vampires. Actually, you kind of see this a lot with monsters. Monsters are often way more polite than you expect them to be. Not just in terms of attitude. They really
Hello,
seem
Damien.
to
I'm
follow
doing
the
good. I'm
rules
having
quite
Subway
well.
and watching
Which is
videos that my chat
weird
sent me.
because aren't monsters
How are you doing?
definitionally supposed to break the rules? Why
it's
should a
pronounced wild?
vampire care if you give it permission to enter? Why should a fairy honor its contract? Why should a murderous
How?
slasher villain seem to take moral issue with premarital
Well,
sex?
hello, Wild.
It's almost like there's more at play here than
Oh,
just
like why? Oh, I
biology
see
and
why. Like
circumstances.
Japanese why.
Like these stories are trying to say something.
I have dyslexia, so
Ellie,
I
who
organized
can
it.
hardly stand to hurt
Wadded.
anyone,
I'm sorry.
is the monster and Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Oscar, our normal little boy, has vivid fantasies about murdering his bullies. Sometimes, in a weird way, despite being literal monsters, it's almost like the monsters in
So,
these stories
where you
respect
submit
the rule.
clips, you go to the Discord. Mods, that's your cue. Link the Discord, please. And there is a channel for React videos, and my mods will vet them, so it's nothing like hardcore porn or something on fucking stream. And yeah, I will pick through them and watch them. Yep.
More than people do.
Thank you, Bun. You get fed tonight. Good job. Oh, it's a cute animation.
Like any widespread cultural concept, the rules that monsters have to follow will vary from storyteller to storyteller. The specifics are different, the stakes are higher or lower, taken more or less seriously.
Hey,
Take the vampire
you get to
entering
have
a
half
house
of
thing,
this
for
Subway
instance.
sandwich,
In Let the Right
most
One In,
of
if
these
Ellie
2
enters
bags
a
of
home
chips,
without permission, she
and like 2/3 of a cookie.
turns
Are you
into
really
blood.
complaining? That's a whole meal.
In something like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, though, it's as simple as the vampire just not physically being able to cross
Actually, I'm
the
gonna eat some more of
threshold
this
as
sandwich.
if
You don't get
there's a
half of it anymore. Sorry.
force field in the way or something. Sometimes the rules are just there for world building, or to add tension to a plot line, or they're more of an unfortunate biological quirk than an
fucking lettuce
actual
fell on me.
rule. In most cases, it's not like vampires avoid sunlight because some doctrine commands it. They just don't want to burst into flames or whatever. That seems like less of a rule to me and more like, survival. But whatever form it takes, it's interesting, right? I think it means something that humans have sort of attached themselves to this idea of a rule-following monster at all. It strikes me less as a world-building gimmick and more as, an accidental method of reflecting on yourselves. Like, humans are usually the good guys, right? They do all the good, righteous stuff while the monsters lurk around on the outskirts of town doing all the bad, evil stuff. So when you start seeing monsters acting righteously, what are you supposed to do with that? What could
Let's
that
go.
mean?
I love monsters.
I'm going to talk about political philosophy for a second, so just bear with me. A social contract is an unspoken set of rules that everyone in a society has agreed to follow if they want that society to function. A lot of it is pretty common sense. Don't steal, don't murder, etc. Like I said, it's an agreement. It's often encoded as law and enforced, yes. You don't want to break the contract because you don't want to get sent to jail or the stocks or thrown into a volcano. But really, for most people, you agree to the contract because you don't want society to fall apart around you.
Mm-hmm.
Enforcement isn't the sole thing holding society together. Agreement is. There's also a lot of potential for abuse in that. I mean, what if someone decides that they don't agree? That they just don't care about your social contract? There's not that much you can do without breaking the contract yourself. And that sort of leaves everyone who does adhere to the contract at the mercy of those who don't. You see this play out a bit in Let the Right One In. After putting up with his bullies for who knows how long, Oscar finally snaps and fights back. He clocks one of the kids in the side of the head with the pole, and it does some real damage.
Oh, damn.
It's the first time Oscar has ever really fought back, because he always knew that he'd get in trouble. With his parents, with the school, his bullies would just get more agitated. Fighting back would just make things worse. Eventually, though, his desire to stand up for himself overpowers his desire to stay out of trouble, and he makes his move. Then, surprise, surprise, he gets in trouble at school, his parents are upset, and it agitates his bullies even more. Hey, at least he got one good whack in. Look at that. Oscar has willingly broken
I really
the
hate
social
how,
contract,
like,
and
I
in
was
doing
bullied a
so,
lot in school.
has edged away from
and
humanity. And
anytime
towards the
I
realm
stood up
of
for myself,
monsters.
I got in trouble for it.
You can
and
tell by
they
the way people
could
react
fucking
to him.
weasel their way out of
He's still a
everything. It was so
person, but his
annoying.
willingness to do this has made people regard him as less of one. I think of this social contract as a sort of dividing wall between those in society and those outside of it. If you adhere to the contract, congratulations, you're a good human and you get to participate in civilization. If you don't, you're a monster, and you have to go do scary monster things alone in the woods. You humans are affirmed in your humanity because you can look at the monsters on the other side of the dividing wall and say, I'm not like them. I'm good. Monsters show you who you are by reflecting your humanity back at you. This is not a new idea. Even the word monster itself seems to indicate some cultural awareness of this. It comes from the Latin verb monstrare, to show or reveal. You can see the same root word in demonstrate. Monsters demonstrate the boundaries of what humanity understands.
It builds character.
It's like those old maps with the sea monsters drawn around the edges to represent the unknown edges of the earth. Anything outside of humanity's understanding is the realm of monsters. In the movie, we clearly recognize Ellie as a vampire, but we know that she's a monster because we see her luring people to their deaths and draining their blood. That's something only a monster would do.
No.
When we see her caretaker doing it for her,
she's just a baby
even though he
vampire.
isn't
She doesn't know
literally
what
a
she's
vampire,
doing. It's okay.
we also recognize him as a monster because he's behaving like one. He doesn't actually have to drink the blood. It's enough for him to have it on his hands. In the real world, monsters don't always look like monsters. Usually they're just people who abuse the social contract. You know, murderers, child abusers, people who comment on YouTube videos without actually watching them, that kind of thing. These are people who
I
have
agree
decided
with you
that they'd rather have
100%,
the
South
freedom to
Slider. I
cause
think
harm
bullying has
than
just gone way too fucking,
align
because like
themselves with the society that wouldn't allow
bullying
them to.
nowadays
Consequences
is
be damned.
permanent. How many
Which,
videos
by
do you
our
see of
earlier
like
definition,
people
would clearly make
ganging
them
up on one
monsters.
child and just
I don't
pounding them like
think
all the
many
time,
people would argue with
all
that.
the
It's
time, and now everybody's
pretty
laughing at
intuitive
that kid that's
stuff
getting
to
like
me.
beaten up all
There's
the
no
time.
gray area with what you might consider abuse of the social contract. Maybe sometimes it needs to be broken. But we're not going there just yet. For now, I think it's enough to say that the real
Oh, let's
monsters
go!
are
I need the
people who
blood. I'm anemic. Give me it.
reject
Thank you.
their place among people.
Are there any
who
fucking
defy the
O
social
positives
contract.
here? I need your blood.
Sometimes,
Thank you. It's the
though,
only type I can.
You find people
Wait,
described
can I only have
or
O positive
treated
if
as
I'm O
monsters
positive, or
who don't really
yeah? I'm pretty
fit
sure I
that
can only have.
description,
I need your O
who
positive
haven't
blood.
done
Thank you.
anything to breach the social contract. People who just have some quality that is deemed monstrous and earns them outsider status through no fault of their own. They're just the wrong kind of person, and that's all it takes. As humanity's key symbol for otherness, it's really no surprise to see monsters put to work here too. If humanity decides something is weird or wrong,
I don't know if I can have any. No, I think I
monsters
can
will
only
have
take
those
my
traits.
type of O.
What are zombie hordes, if not mindless mobs of dangerous, unfamiliar people swarming your neighborhood? What are werewolves, if not unstable
I think
and
negative can take
temperamental and unable to control
They're
their
universal
condition?
donors, but I don't know if they can
How
take
many
any.
monsters in folklore are just women who seduced men, or men who aren't masculine enough? Succubi, Ginger Fitzgerald, Norman Bates, Louis and Lestat. The list goes on and on. Good, respectable, tidy, familiar, understandable, agreeable, rule-following humans are the in-group. Everyone else is a monster. My point is, this isn't just a matter of violating the social contract. Monstrousness is incredibly subjective and sometimes based on
A lot of the issues is
very
that
little
children,
outside
for
of
the most part, are
familiarity
basically
and
property to their
personal taste.
parents.
I'm not trying
And at
to
the
imply
mercy of
that Norman
society, and
Bates wasn't a
society is
monster or
crumbling,
anything
so-
like that.
Yeah.
I just think that his monstrousness comes from the fact that he murders women in
Negative
the
cannot
shower.
take,
not
plus
that he
blood.
wore a dress sometimes.
So
and I
tough
do
blood.
find it a little disturbing that this
No.
othering is so
My
normal.
dad had AB blood.
That
I don't
someone
remember
can
if it was
so
negative or positive. though.
arbitrarily just decide that you're a monster, put you on the other side of that invisible wall with the rest of the monsters, whether you've done anything abusive or not.
Oh, nice. Welcome back.
Literally anyone can be a monster if they happen to be this era's idea of the wrong type of person.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone can be a monster, if this effect can be so easily applied, how do we tell with any certainty who the actual monsters are? What does the dividing line between the in-group and the out-group even mean? Who belongs where and why? What if the goalposts shift? If the rules are subjective and
Itsumo,
based
give me
on
your
the whims
fucking
of whoever
blood.
makes them,
I need it.
there's no guarantee they won't
Give me a bucket of it.
evolve.
Thank
Things
you.
that were once monstrous may become more acceptable, and things that were once totally fine may eventually become a problem.
But yeah,
No
I get
definition of what makes a
infusions
human
plus
or
blood,
a monster will
and I also
ever
take
be
supplements.
entirely
I take
objective or immutable.
really,
Maybe
really,
it's
really
possible
big
for monsters
supplements.
to earn their humanity. If a monster plays by humanity's rules, can it become more human?
Is give me my blood,
In
or
Let
give
the
me your
Right One
blood
In,
really a
we witness
threat?
Ellie
I need
luring
it.
a man, killing him, and drinking his blood.
Thank you. Thank
then
you.
we
See,
watch
all you have to do
her
is
sob,
ask in a slightly
clearly
threatening way.
regretting what she has to do in order to provide for herself. Meanwhile, Oscar fantasizes
I learned
about
my type
killing
on
his
a fucking
classmates. He
a
wants
self-blood
this,
test on
but
Amazon. It's like 10
isn't
bucks.
powerful
I was
or
curious.
brave enough to have it. Ellie
Plus O
shows
is
more
supposed to be
compassion, more
a recessive
humanity
gene,
than
while
Oscar
AB is
does,
supposed to be a
despite
dominant gene.
her actions. But because
That
of
is
her
weird.
very nature, she can never be human. Here's a question. How often do you see a monster decide that it's a monster?
Do you
I mean,
mean
surely now and
suppositories?
then.
No, I don't.
I know
Do they
there
have
are
iron
monsters out there that
suppositories?
embrace it, but
No, it's just
The
like it's a
majority of the
chewy.
time,
It's a chewy like 60 milligrams
monster
of iron.
is a title given to you against your will. Frankenstein's monster, as we so readily call him, wasn't created to act monstrously. He wasn't created with a penchant for
Yeah,
violence or a desire to rampage
kids are
through
really
small
cheap.
towns. He was created as a blank slate. He was curious. He wanted to learn about this weird new world he'd been brought into. He wanted his creator to guide him.
So they just
But
took your
because
blood and
his
didn't even
creator
tell you what it
failed
is?
to guide him, and the rest of humanity took one look at him and decided that he must be a monster, he started acting like one. His frustration and betrayal at society's rejection pushed him toward becoming exactly what was expected of him by people who didn't
The
understand
creature.
him. Some monsters have this decision made for them and try to reject it. They think that if they can just act more human, the humans will accept them into their in-group.
Oh
You see
no,
this
you're
in
talking
things
about
like
the fucking
vegetarian
Sentry Man or
vampire
whatever?
trope, where vampires will find workarounds to avoid killing innocent humans for food. Maybe they have willing donors, or they only hunt morally repugnant humans, or I don't know, they drink the color
I would
red
be a vigilante
instead.
vampire.
But despite their best efforts to avoid causing harm, they are still vampires. Their monstrousness is part of their being. Humans, by and large, will still see them that way no matter what they do. Their attempts at assimilation are often painful, embarrassing, debasing, and
No.
ultimately futile.
Yeah.
In Interview with a Vampire, when Louis first turned into a vampire, he tries to avoid hunting humans. He resists his desire for blood, but also his desire for another man, Lestat. When Ginger Fitzgerald from the movie Ginger Snaps begins turning into a werewolf, she's just as hesitant to accept the changes brought on by lycanthropy as she is the changes brought on by puberty. They don't want to be monsters. That doesn't change the fact that they are. Trying to follow the rules is kind of pointless when the rules
Does
are
every
arbitrary
werewolf
and
have the
unfair.
curse of,
Maybe in these
food
cases,
turning to ash in
when
their
your
mouth, so
monstrousness
they're, like,
isn't a
constantly
function
hungry?
of what you do,
or is it
but
just specific
who
ones?
you are? it's better to embrace it. The monster is more than just a fictional villain archetype.
Dave, we're talking about blood
It's
because
a
they're talking about
didactic device
vampires.
that shows you your own social boundaries. It tells you what to do
And then
by
I
telling
told
you
them
what
I need
not
blood.
to do. It's a lot easier to come
You've
to
never
a
heard of
consensus
that?
on what's
Really?
wrong if you can create a communal image of what wrong looks like. That kind of consensus is also very susceptible to bias, though. What happens when you all agree on something wrong? What if you find threats where there aren't any? What if you end up stoking fear around something that is, in the end, pretty harmless? How do you benefit from othering people based on the flimsy criteria of personal taste and familiarity? How does casting them off with the real monsters, the abusers of the social contract, help in any way? These questions are obviously rhetorical. I know there's no way to bargain humans to treating their outgroups with a little more fairness. Chances are, if you exist, someone out there will consider you a monster for some reason.
Yep.
Even if you follow the rules perfectly, which is certainly tempting to try, you'll never be able to do it perfectly enough. You will always be a monster to someone. One thing I really like about Let the Right One In is that it doesn't provide a clear, categorical definition of what it means to be a monster. Oscar
I heard
is
that
a
food tastes so
tormented
bad it makes him
boy
throw
who
up.
fantasizes about violence. Ellie is a
The one in The
tormented
Witcher
girl who has
3
no choice
has
but
a
to
curse
engage
where
in it.
everything they eat turns
Oscar
to
can
ash.
pass in society as a person, but is still ostracized and bullied for things beyond his control. Ellie will never pass as a person, no matter what she does. In the end, all they have is that they aren't monsters to each other. And that has to be enough.
Damn.
Okay, look.
Adopted by the
I'm supposed to find
monsters.
some way to transition from that into
You
a
guys
sponsor
need to
spot
play
for
The
Brilliant
Witcher.
here, but I'm just not really interested in trying to make
I'm
that
waiting
work.
on 1 and 2 to get a remake.
These things have nothing to
Hopefully.
do with each other.
Hopefully.
Brilliant isn't going to make you feel like less of a monster to society or something. It's not magic. It's just a really
Where's
good
my
tool
heater
that'll
remote?
probably improve your
toes are
life in a
cold.
few ways. That's what it did for me. So that's what I'm going to tell you about instead. Brilliant is maybe one of the easiest ways to
Oh,
learn.
we're skipping the ad.
Toolkit. I barely even have to think about
mouse.
using it. I just go to the site, click into a course.
Oh, at the end. Okay. It's the rest of it's well, that's nice of him. So yeah. Do I have time for one more?